The last topic we'll discuss this week is the topic of nested objects. That is basically if you have one object as part of the other object. For example, if you have a board game and you define a ball, and you would define the center of that ball as another class. So as class point would be the center, and then class ball would contain other information for the ball, such as the color, radius, so on and so forth. So let's see what that would look like. Let's say we have class point, and that is going to be int x and y, and then we're going to have class ball. That the ball is going to have a center, so we're going to have point center, and of course we're going to have, let's say, other attributes of the ball, such as, let's say, radius. So if we have something like this, let's start with the setup function. So in the setup function, we are going to create an object of type ball. So if you do that, let's say ball B is new. It's called the default constructor. Okay. Well, what happens now is, if you look at the memory diagram right now, we are going to have, let me just bring, so we are going to have setup. We have B. B is going to be created. Inside of B, we're going to have center, which is of type point, and we're going to have radius, which is an integer. Radius is an integer. It's going to have value 0. Center is an object that hasn't been created yet. Because it hasn't been created yet, if I try to say, so if I go ahead and if I say print for me what is inside of radius, so if I say b dot radius, it should print 0, right? And it does print 0 at the bottom there. But if I say, well, print for me, if I say, okay, well, print what's inside of center, center should have x and y inside, right? If I say print b dot center dot x, it should print what's inside of x, but it's not going to, because because center hasn't been created yet. So you see that an error happens. It's called the null pointer exception. That basically means that, hey, there is no such thing as center.x, because center is the dot in memory. It has not been created yet. So the lesson in this is that if you have an object inside another object, you need to construct the inner object as well. So the way you would do that is, you would have a constructor for ball. So let's say int, even if you have, so actually let's have like a default constructor for ball. So like if you have this, and if you simply said inside of this constructor, you would say center, which is of type point, is going to be calling the default constructor. Now what's going to happen is when you create ball, so when you construct B, inside of B you are going to construct an instance of point. So this diagram will look like this. One second, let's go to the next page. So this diagram will look like B. So I go here and I say B is new ball. When I create ball, I'm also creating point. So center is going to be created here. And center is going to have X, which is going to be 0, and Y, which is going to be 0. And of course, radius is going to be 0. So now my code works. If I say print, you're going to see X and X printed here. And if I go up here, and if I want to go ahead and make, let's say my Y, I want to make my Y to be 7. The way I would do that right now is that I would simply say b dot center dot y is 7. And if I just get it to print out y for me, then 7 should be printed out, which it does. So the trick is that you need to construct the inner object. So for example, let's see another example. Let's say I have a point constructor now. So let's say I say point is going to take A and B, and basically what happens is X is going to be equal to A, Y is going to be assigned to B, and then here in this constructor, so you see that I can't call the default constructor for points because I have a constructor here. So what I could do here, I could say, okay, well, ball is going to take an A, it's going to take a B, and it's going to take an R. And in here, I am going to call the point constructor, passing A and B to point, and of course saying radius and assign that to R. So now if I do this, then everything is working. When I want to call the ball, if I want to call the ball constructor, obviously I have to pass 3 values to it. So let's just say pass 8, 20, and 7, just like 3 random values. So what happens is, let's go to the next page. What happens is this is going to create, if I say ball, this is basically going to create in setup, we're going to have B. We are passing 8 and 20 to the constructor of ball. So when B is created, we're going to have center, which is of type point, and center is going to have X and Y. What's X? X is going to be the value of A, which is 8. y is going to be the value of b, which is 20. And then we're going to have radius, and radius is going to have value of 7. So again, if you wanted to print any of this, so let's say let's print y, for example, here as we are, and that's the value 20 is printed. I want to do one last example with regards to having an array of nested objects, and it's no different than what we've been doing so far. So consider class point. You have the constructor in class point. So the constructor is here, that's great. And then we have class ball. Notice that the constructor of class ball is calling the constructor of class point. Then in setup, we are going to create an array that is going to have 3 cells. So an array that has 3 cells. And we need to construct the objects. So what we do is that for each cell of the array is of type ball. For each cell, we're going to construct a new object. Every time we construct a new object of type ball, a new object of type point is created. So in each index of the array BR, an object ball is constructed, and every time an object ball is constructed, an object point is constructed inside of it. So the memory diagram then will look like something like this. You have the array BR, and you have in each cell, so you have 0, 1, and 2, and in each cell you're going to have what you have constructed. It so happens that if you go back, it so happens that the constructor that we're calling, it puts 10, 20, and 5 in everything. So if you go back, I have 10, 20, and 5 in all elements except this one. And the reason for this one is that at the end I have said go to the first element and in center.y put the value 7. So if I wanted to change the value of this guy, let's say I wanted to change the value of x here to 3, what I would have to write is, maybe pause the video, write the answer, and then rewatch again. The answer would be BR index 2 dot, we are in center, dot x 3. So it's like opening boxes, right? At first, it's all about finding addresses. You find the address of the array at index 2, then you find the object center, then the variable x, and then you set it to x. So it's very sequential, and it's all about finding the addresses.